Hello, it has been too long once again, and I have passed 100 subscribers and done nothing about it, and it goes on and on and on and on and on, and yeah, I can apologise as many times as I like, but I'm making another video and here I am. Today, updating you on the debacle that has been my Imperial Knights project in recent months. Some things have gone really, really well, some things have not gone well. I'm going to explain it all. This is my first ever scripted video, so let me know what you think of that. Trying to outline all the details, give it to you as succinctly as possible. Feeling a little silly for some of the stuff that I did, but you'll soon see it all and you'll soon be able to judge me for yourself. I'm really excited to finish this project at some point within the next 15 years. If you have any suggestions for ways I can speed up the process, just let me know. I have done so much for these guys so far and I have so much left to do, but without messing around anymore, here is what I have done since the last time.
First of all, I went over the models looking for any kind of detail points that I hadn't already managed to pick up. Generally, these points were just rivets and like other tiny dotted parts that needed a little more than like a dab of Balthasar gold to sort of make them show. Next up, I set up my camera at a particularly jaunty angle and went about cutting up some old models that I wasn't happy with to turn them into basing pieces. I used some old Space Marines, some broken weapons, sprues, and even some of the spare knight parts that were in the Canis Rex kit. Now, I wanted the bases to look as if these knights were like untouched victors walking over the battlefield, like looking to pick off any remaining traitors. So I made sure that there was plenty of debris for them to dig through as they kind of prowled around. Then I went on to add some details to the warglaives, which I have to admit I've been neglecting a bit over the course of this project. I'm working on making them look like two little supporting or flanking units that fight alongside the knight, one in the flame livery and the other in the bone white half livery, as if each one has like an assigned side of the main knight that they fight on. But you can see here, I didn't just stick pieces onto the bases. I wanted the parts to look buried or like as if they'd been there for a few days, getting covered in mud and rain. And especially, if these pieces were like down Space Marines or Traitor Astartes, I tried to make them look even more like they'd been sort of stuck in or driven down or pounded into the ground. And while they did bring about a pretty cool look to the bases when I was finished with them, let me tell you that it is no fun at all trying to file down a Space Marine model and make it look half buried in the dirt. But here's one of the Canis Rex parts, the Power Claw. It wasn't included in the build that I wanted to do, and I couldn't find another use for it, so rather than let it go to waste, I filed it down as well and added it to the base of one of the warglaives, like a knight had its arm blown off and it wedged in the ground. Or even maybe an ancient part. I don't know how I'm going to paint that up yet. One of the more fun things to add to the bases were the knight faceplates, which are also spares from the Canis Rex box. I cut them up and added them in specific places as if they had been blown off as well. If you're looking to buy a knight but you aren't sure which one to go for, then go for the Canis Rex, because if you can pretty much make any combo you like from everything that they include in that box. After the bases, I set about touching up and then fitting the leg armor plates of the knight into their final positions. It was actually really satisfying to finally see the model begin to come together, because it's been sitting in like fragmented pieces ever since I built it back in August. Oh, the joys of being self-employed. One part of the painting run I was really excited about was finally getting to paint the warglaive heads with their base coat of silver. I use Leadbelcher just like everyone else, and honestly, it's just so nice to see these two pieces finally beginning to come to life. It's been a massive project overall and one with so many tedious hours of work, but this was something I really, really enjoyed doing. Lastly, to do with the painting, I touched up some of the armor panels that I worked on ages ago before I got them ready for their transfers. I've never really been a fan of transfers because I prefer to leave armor panels uninterrupted so that the colors and mixes that I work on can be seen more clearly. My most famous example of this was probably when I did my Salamander's Dreadnought, because the color scheme was so austere and I worked so hard on that I felt as if, I felt like transfers would create a much too garish or decorated look. This time though, the polishedness, I guess, polishedness being a word, I don't know, of the knight felt like it suited the transfers more. And after hours of kind of fighting the little paper pricks, I finally got something I was happy with. As a side note, I learned a lot about how to remove transfers while I was doing this. So if you want to see a video on that, my method of taking off transfers, let me know in the comments. When I was done with the transfers, though, I moved on to putting together the last pieces of the knight left to assemble. At this point, I learned that one of the parts intended for fitting the knight's chest was missing. This resulted in me having to make my own part out of more spares. It was awkward, but I was careful in when I measured it and stuff, and I think the end result is pretty good. How about you? I also assembled both of the optional guns intended for the front of the knight, making sure that they were interchangeable so that I don't have to commit to a final look. And it was all going really, really well until several things happened at once. I first noticed that something was wrong when I tried to fit this small gun attachment at the front without removing the pauldrons, which I'd previously glued on. There was no way I was going to get them in place. Soon after that, I discovered that the carapace was also getting in the way and that would have to come off as well. Soon after that, I discovered that in spite of intending for my knight to be a Questor Mechanicus unit, I had fitted a fairly high number of Questor Imperialis totems and insignias all over it. And while I'm not the kind to get all worked up about the specifics of something like this, I at least wanted my knight to be credible as a homebrew house's champion, you know, table legal or not. So, following all that came the tensest modeling session I've ever been through. I had to very carefully pry the carapace and pauldrons off the knight using a method I'm not going to show, A, because I was too scared to remember to record it, and B, because I'm not going to recommend that you try it. But after that, I was able to fit the gun placement pieces easily, but then I had to go on to replace all of the Questor Imperialis pieces across the knight's body. And as you can see here, I didn't have the motivation by the time that was over to keep on painting, so my next big step with this project will be to bring the Mechanicus insignias, as well as all the cheeky little purity seals that I added, up to standard with the rest of the model. But overall, he's not in bad shape considering that happened, and the work it'll take to get him back on track won't cost me any more than an hour or two, I hope. All that's left after that will be to finish the arms and weapons, then get the bases all finished off.
So, arms and stuff left. We'll get there. We will get there. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to see any of the videos that I suggested during that there, leave it in the comments below and I will make the videos that I was talking about. Otherwise, share it with your friends, tell everybody. If you're painting a knight, let me know what it looks like. Send me pictures, whatever you want. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video.